I am I am going to talk about the result on the two sets of studies which are related to the prevalence of gambling problems in Japan. This is the disclosure on my conflict of interest. My presentation consists of two parts. The first part is related to two nationwide cross-sectional population surveys aimed at estimating gambling disorder, or GD, among the general adult population in Japan. The second part is related to a prospective longitudinal study examining the change in addictive behaviors, including GD, in people in those areas affected by the Great East Japan earthquake and the resultant tsunami, together with other geographical areas. I will start my presentation on the cross-sectional population surveys. This is the outline of the two nationwide surveys. The nationwide survey was conducted in 2008 and 2013. The subject of the first survey, which was conducted in 2008, were 7,500 men and women aged 20 years or older, who were sampled from the total Japanese adult population using a stratified two-stage random sampling method. The second survey was almost the same with regard to the sampling method and the survey procedure as the first one. The contents of the survey included demographic information, socio-familial data, drinking patterns, and alcohol-related problems. The Japanese version of South Oaks Gambling Screen, or SOGS, was included to estimate the number of people with GD. A SOGS score of 5 or more was used as the cutoff point. The response rate of the first survey was approximately 55%, and the second survey was 59%. This is the result of the surveys. The estimated prevalence of gambling disorder was 9.6% among males and 1.6% among females in 2008. We observed similar findings in both males and females in 2013. This means the high prevalence of gambling disorder was maintained after the five-year interval. This table shows the epidemiological studies on the prevalence of gambling disorder among adult population in various countries. All these studies used SOGS to identify the gambling disorder. As you can see, the prevalence of gambling disorder ranged from 0.3 to 3.5%. Please note that the figure of 3.5% came from the study conducted in the state of Nevada, USA, where Las Vegas is located. This is the second list. Again, the prevalence ranged from 0.2% to 3.4%. The result of our studies are shown in the last two entries. The prevalence of total population in 2008 was 5.0%, and that in 2013 was 4.5%, which was much higher than the prevalence in other studies. This slide shows the result of binomial logistic regression analysis where the dependent variables was the dichotomous classification of the subject, GD versus others. Each type of gambling with the frequency of once a week or more versus less than once a week was entered in the model as an independent variable. To estimate the contribution of each type of gambling in the development of gambling disorder, the population attributable risk was calculated. In females, in the 2013 survey, the only pachinko and slot machines showed statistically significant odds ratio. However, the contribution of pachinko to the development of gambling disorder was far higher than that of slot machines. The population attributable risk of gambling disorder was nearly 40%. This slide shows the result of the same analysis using male data in the 2013 survey. Again, the contribution of pachinko to the development of gambling disorder was far higher than other gambling activities. Again, the population attributable risk of pachinko was nearly 40%. By the way, what is pachinko? Pachinko is a game that is a hybrid of a pinball and slot machine. When played, most of the small iron balls simply fall down into the machine and disappear. However, if the balls go to certain locations, they may be captured and a sequence of events triggered, resulting in more balls being released. Gambling is illegal in Japan, but pachinko is regarded as an exception and treated as an amusement activity. Awarding direct money prizes for pachinko is illegal, but parlors can reward players with golden tokens, which can then be sold for cash at nearby exchange centers. Okay, I will skip this. The left panel shows the trend in the number of pachinko players and the total annual sales. Both show falling numbers over the last 10 years. The average annual expenditure per, but yeah, I have to say one thing. The market size of pachinko in 2015 was $220 billion US. The average annual expenditure per one pachinko player has tended to rise. And recently, on average, each player spends more than $20,000 US, per annum. Now I am going to move on to the second study, which is the longitudinal study. This is the background of the study. A huge earthquake and the resultant tsunami struck northeastern Japan on March 11, 2011, and caused widespread damage. It is believed that disasters can cause significant mental health consequences, including different types of addictions among survivors. This is a photo of a village when tsunami swept toward the area. The many houses were completely destroyed, and the ship was even stranded on the residential area. The subject of the baseline survey was selected randomly by two-stage stratified random sampling from the entire country and from inland and the coastal area in Iwate and Miyagi prefectures. The baseline survey was conducted in November 2012, 1 year and 8 months after the earthquake. The subject of the follow-up survey were those who had participated in the baseline survey. The follow-up survey was conducted in November 2014, approaching 2 years after the baseline survey. So, this is a map of Japan, and this is where the tsunami and the earthquake and tsunami took place. I mentioned inland areas here, and coastal areas here. In the baseline survey, the trained interviewers visited the subject homes and ascertained demographic background, social, familial status, and drinking and smoking and substance use. The subjects were also asked to complete the self-reported questionnaires, including SOGS. This slide shows demographics of the study subject at the baseline survey. The average age was in the 50s. And there was a striking difference with regard to the employment and housing statuses between the coastal group and inland group. Nearly 20% of the subject in the coastal group lost their jobs because of the earthquake. About 90% of the coastal subject houses were completely destroyed, and nearly 100% of them were forced to live in the temporary housing. We have, after the earthquake, we observed that many pachinko parlors were newly built and well patronized in areas where the earthquake and tsunami had struck. The result of a study supported our observations. The prevalence of gambling disorder among subjects in the coastal area was significantly higher than the subject in other areas. Please note, the prevalence of gambling disorder ascertained with the SOGS was nearly 16%, which is almost double the average in other areas. However, we couldn't find the same phenomenon in females. However, the heightened prevalence of gambling disorder had decreased significantly in the follow-up survey, which was conducted 2 years after the baseline survey. The prevalence of gambling disorder was almost comparable to the prevalence recorded in the 2008 and 2013 nationwide surveys. A statistically significant difference with regard to the prevalence of gambling disorder was not found among males in the inland area and among females. In order to identify preventive factors of gambling disorder, we conducted a multiple logistic regression analysis. One was entered for those who scored under 5 at baseline and the follow-up survey or showed improvement in SOGS score at follow-up, while 0 was entered for the remaining subject in the model as dependent variable. As you can see, the only female gender and agedness were identified as factors associated with the decreased risk of gambling disorder. This is the final slide, and I will not repeat my finding again. Thank you very much.